Okay, we're live again. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. So now we've got Coach Mauldin on here. How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Hey, all right.
It worked finally. You know what it is? You know what it is? It's that Dodgers picture behind us.
It's a sad day for Dodgers today. He announced his retirement today.
I saw that. Kershaw.
Yeah, whoever fixed your computer needs a raise.
Leave it to me to come on the show to break everything down.
I don't know. We did everything the same way that we've always done it twice. You know.
It may be the Dodgers picture in the background.
We're cursed. It's been a tough year for me, as you might imagine. Although the last series was just fine, swept the Nationals, but yeah. But we're here now.
Who are you talking about?
The Atlanta Braves.
They still play baseball in Atlanta?
You set me up.
No, the answer to that is no, they're not still playing baseball.
I just went through all this technological adversity, and you kicked me while I was down.
Oh, man.
Thank you for hanging in there with us.
Yep, no problem.
Can you believe we've been at Hewitt Trustful for what, 12, 13 years, something like that now?
This is year 14.
14.
14, yep.
Can you believe it?
Some days yes, some days no. It's been a good ride, man. It's been good. We've had a lot of great teams, just a lot of great memories too. Like, you know, obviously we're not done by any stretch of the imagination, but just, you know, I think back to the very first year here, and we had a senior group that was had, you know, a new coach walking in, and I mean, tons of seniors are highly talented, and they just bought into what we were doing, and you know, made it all the way to the state finals that year and got beat. But it kind of got everything started off on the right foot, and we've just been trying to keep it as consistent as possible the last 14 years.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you real quick. You know, like obviously this last season, incredible run. You know, I know it didn't end where you wanted it to, but how crazy to have Steele Hall goes, what, 9th overall to Cincinnati, and then Riley Quick, who's just, you know, a few years ahead of him, goes 36 to the Twins. How crazy was that? Have you been a part of a run like that in any program you've been a part of where you'd have two guys drafted that high?
I had several friends of mine that are high school coaches. No one could think of anybody that had 2 first-rounders ever around here.
That was my question, Coach. I was wondering. I figured you would know, but I've never heard of one high school having 2 first-rounders in the same year.
Yeah, around here, I would say you're accurate. Go to Corona, California. I think they had 3. So, but no, it was a pretty cool year. You know, we had scouts at our field. I would say 95% of the days, not just games, but practices, workouts. You know, and yes, they were coming to see Steele in person, but every one of them was asking us about Riley in Tuscaloosa. And so it was kind of a talk. You know, we talked to every scout, general manager, cross checker. It was about both kids the whole time. It was never directly, hey, tell us about just Steele Hall or just Riley Quick. It was, I felt like every meeting I sat in, it was double the time because they wanted to talk about both kids. So it was a crazy year, and you know, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think it brought a lot of attention to our community. You know, to see Hewitt Trustful and Trustful, Alabama on MLB Network and on ESPN and all the social media posts. You know, I got a lot of contacts and, you know, questions and text messages and emails from people all over just asking us, you know, about the city, you know, about it. I think they realized baseball was an important thing in Trustful. And, you know, so it was neat. It brought a lot of attention to our community. It brought a lot of attention to our school, obviously to our program. and you kind of feel like that happened that day. Then, a few weeks later, Carson Skipper gets pulled up to AAA by the Rockies. Michael Fowler, who graduated in 2020, was signed by the Brewers. Obviously then Tyler Tolbert is in the big leagues, making his debut. And I don't know, it's like every time the phone rang, I thought that here comes more good news. So it was a good summer for sure.
And Coach, you mentioned, and I don't think people really understand, but that success that you've had with those players and all, the attention it brought to our community. I mean, Trustful, Alabama is known not just around here. It's known throughout the U.S. Because of that. And I think we the impact of those scouts week after week coming to Trustful, getting to see our community, get to see our school. I mean, that's just invaluable.
I tell you, the day of the draft, both Steele and Riley had draft parties at the entertainment district, and MLB had cameras there. The MLB Network had cameras there. But I think the funny thing is, the first day scouts would come to Trustful because they wouldn't come for one day; they'd come for 2 or 3 days at a time, and they'd ask me, "Hey, what restaurants do we need to go to?" And then they'd come back a month later, "Hey, we're going back to Jim and Nick's," or "Hey, we're going over here," and they started knowing our town, as good as anybody because they're here so much.
That's awesome. Did you I tried to follow some of that pre-draft, mock drafts and stuff like that. And Steele specifically, I think at one point I saw him as high as 11th. I think I saw him the 20th. All that. But did you expect him to go top 10?
At the big, as we followed it just like you probably, and not really. But about 2 or 3 weeks before the draft, I was going down Highway 11, and the Cincinnati Reds scout called me, and I had to pull over in the CVS parking lot because where I was going, I was going to Home Depot. I didn't want to walk around Home Depot on the phone. So I pulled in the parking lot and literally was on the phone for 45 minutes with this scout, about Steele. And then I coached ball in the summer, so I was traveling a few days later, and Steele was up at the field hitting. And I just asked him, I say, "Man, I'm going to be gone for a few weeks. I'm actually coming in town the day of the draft. Where do you think you're going to go?" And he looked at me and goes, "I'm going number 9 to the Reds." And I was like, "Okay." So yeah, that was a few days after I talked to the Red scout for so long. So I knew there was a great possibility, but you just never know because say someone they like a little bit more than Steele's available and they take that guy, then Steele goes to 10 or 11 or whatever. But the Reds seemed the most interested talking to me. And then when Steele said that, I was like, well, I guess this is going to happen unless something crazy happens. They cut these deals before the draft. I think most kids drafted in the first round, they got a really good idea, before the draft even starts.
Yeah. How about Riley though? Because that's not top 10. It's still first round. But you start getting into the 30s. Was it a little more uncertain for him?
Obviously we were at Riley's draft party, and we're really close to the Quicks. They were one of the first families we met. We moved here 14 years ago. His older brother Pierce, played for me baseball before he did his football thing. We felt good about Riley going to a couple of teams a little bit after when he got picked. We weren't really nervous at all. We were sitting there. We kind of knew the Dodgers were going to pick him, the Yankees. One of those two teams had already said, "Hey, if you get to us, we're going to take you." But then we're sitting there just kind of watching the draft, eating, and Wayne runs in and Coach Schrupp's a huge Minnesota Twins fan. We're sitting there eating wings and watching it, and he yells at us across the restaurant, "Hey, the Twins are about to take him." And we're like, "What?" And we looked up, and it was going right then. Like they had just called him and said, "Hey, we're going to take you." It literally happened like 30 seconds. Wow. We were thinking he was going to go 2 or 3 picks after that. But again, the unknown, the Twins jumped ahead of the teams that said they were going to take them, and they didn't have too many conversations with the Twins that we know of. but they took him in that spot, and then it was, a good time after that. So,
Two very different kind of journeys there on draft day. Like
yeah.
that's what's always so fascinating to me about any draft, NFL, NBA, MLB, is just how it shapes up and how it can jumble up based on one team decided to do this or do that. And man, it's nerve wracking, I'm sure, but a very positive kind of nerve wracking for those guys.
Yeah, I think, we just both kids and both families, you just, you got to thank God. I mean, God's blessed them with an unbelievable ability. And, it's just it's a very humbling experience as a coach, to watch those guys do that. And you just hope for the best for them. And you hope they, continue that journey and keep that love of the game. And, the biggest thing now is, when you're at Alabama, man, you're having fun. You're playing SEC baseball. When you're in high school, you're having fun. You're playing with your buddies, and now you're a professional. You go from kind of a fantasy world to the real world, and in it's the hardest game to play at a professional level. And I was watching Tyler Tolbert got in last night for Kansas City, and we were watching it, and he had a really good night last night. And the announcers kept talking about how he's 27 years old. He spent all this time in the minors, just to endure the grind and endure the day and the bus rides in the minor leagues. And, you kind of start questioning, do I have what it takes? I think, these guys, all these guys, Steele, Riley, obviously Tyler, but Carson, Michael, all these guys are talented. They wouldn't get the opportunity if they're not talented, but I think the guys who make it have the mental capacity to, to survive that, because the game's hard. And, I think Tyler is a example of that. He just kept working and believing in himself. And, I've been up there a couple of times this summer, and, the first thing he says to me is God is good. And it's so awesome to hear him say that. And he keeps life in perspective, even though he's a major leaguer. So,
Coach, how do you keep guys with that kind of talent? And you've had a bunch of them down through your career, but how do you keep guys with that kind of talent? How do you keep them in high school team focused? And I know you're always focused on winning the region, winning the state. And how do you keep a guy with that kind of talent? And maybe his parents also. How do you keep them focused on the team? And we got a goal as a team. I know there's got to be some kind of hidden secret to that.
We focus on team, Alan. I mean, we leave every day, whether it's today after weight room or conditioning or even a practice or a game. We break it down on team. A lot of people break it down on Hewitt, Huskies, defense, offense. We always break it down on team. It's a daily reminder that the team comes first. And we tell them all the time, if you put the team ahead of you as an individual and everybody does that, then everybody is going to have some success. So we really kind of preach team to them. And honestly, we don't treat them special. We don't treat them different. When Riley Quick pitched for me, I was as hard on him as anybody in the bullpen, or a mound visit, to get him back going. And, we don't treat those guys, any different than anybody else. I mean, I think everybody's treated, it's going to sound weird. Everybody's treated different because everybody's different. Everybody's an individual, but we don't go, oh, that's Steele. He don't need to run today because he's this guy. He did everything everybody else did. Riley did everything everybody else did, and I mean, you got different things, circumstances and all that, but I think we really try to everybody's involved in the same stuff. And I think if the Steel Halls and Riley Quicks and Carson Skippers, Carson Skipper's a great example. His senior year, scouts were looking at him a little bit. He was going to Auburn, and they noticed him after a game, the only guy on the mound raking the mound, tamping the mound, fixing it. And that's what it is. He's a senior, already committed to Auburn. He's the one doing the work. He's not expecting a freshman or a sophomore to go do it. And I think that's just kind of, we try to have that the standard of our program, to where everybody is everybody has a job to do. No one's above anybody else. So I think that's how we kind of keep team first, where each individual has their own jobs and everybody has their role. And the biggest thing is getting them to accept their roles. I think your best teams do that.
Yeah, and I just think that's a gift you have to working with these guys, because I could see it being easy for a guy like saying, "Hey, it's midway through the season. I'm gonna be a number one draft pick, or I'm gonna be a first round draft pick, and so I'm gonna kind of do things my way, and I may let up here. I may try to keep from doing this or that." But you've always been able to keep those guys all focused on, your goal of team and finishing strong in the region and the state, and I just think that's a gift.
Well, I think that's our kids though. I think it's our assistant coaches. We don't change how we run a practice. We try to stay very routine, keep the same routines every day. But I think it's our kids. I think our kids feed off each other. I think our kids push each other. I think they kind of we as coaches kind of put out a plan to stay the course, but the kids stay the course. And they're not afraid to say something to another guy if they see someone they think's getting out of line, and try to get them back in line. And and we encourage them to do that. Like that, to me, that's leadership. If you see someone not upholding the standard, it's your job to lead the team. We tell them a lot. Good teams are led by coaches, great teams are led by players. And I think this year we're taking it a step further, and really, we started a Bible study last Sunday night. Our parents are going to be more involved this year than in the past. And we had a parent meeting about a week or two ago, and I told them I may have been wrong all this time. I think the best teams are led by parents, players, and coaches. And I'm not saying that ends in a state championship, but I think the most enjoyable teams to be around, the teams we've enjoyed coaching the most and had the best experiences, I think it's three things. I think it's parents, players, and coaches.
Yeah. What do y'all do? Like, I mean, it's September right now. What do you do between now and February? What's a day, what's a week look like for you at Trustful Baseball?
I don't know if I can give you all my secrets. We lift 3 days a week. We do speed and agility 3 days a week on the same days we lift. We do conditioning 1 day a week. Speed and agility is kind of conditioning because it's tough and long, but specifically conditioning 1 day a week right now. We do like a competition on Fridays after we lift. We can do some baseball stuff. We do fundamentals. Like today, we had them in 3 groups. One group was hitting, one group was bunting, one group was doing their conditioning. We started a new program this year, so it's really time consuming. It's really hard. We kind of, I guess, pushing the envelope a little bit with what we're doing as far as getting after it in the weight room more, getting after speed and agility. It's an everyday thing. It's Monday through Friday for us right now. Like tomorrow morning, we got weights at 6:00 in the morning. We lift on Fridays in the morning just because we give our kids time to get to the football games on Friday nights. It's a year-round deal. Baseball is not just a spring sport. That's when we play, but you prepare to play in the fall and winter. And we're really big in the weight room, really big in conditioning and speed and agility. This time of year, a lot of fundamental stuff individually, not a lot of team stuff. I really try to wait to do most of our team stuff when we get our football players back. Hopefully, that's December. So I love getting them in December. It means football teams had a good run. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I think it's a constant work every day. Like they know there's not an off day every day. They know they got to come in and be ready. And, we try to, I think all of our sports, not just baseball, but football, basketball, tennis, golf, volleyball, you name it. We got just over 1,500 students in our school. and we're a 7A school, and the Hoovers 3,000. We're closer to a 3A school than a 7A school based on our enrollment. So I think we've got to do things at Hewitt. All of our coaches, we got to do things a little different. We may have to work harder in a weight room or conditioning, or do more team bonding things away from the field. Just do things, kind of think outside the box a little bit. And if it's a Bible study on Sunday nights, if it's I've talked to Lawrence over at the park about us being involved in the Miracle League and doing stuff. Just getting our kids away from Hewitt Trussville High School, getting them to someone's house for a Bible study, going to Miracle League, just doing different things, to just for the kids to form a bond that's unbreakable. And they play for each other harder because they know more about them than just, hey, I'm going to my first baseman.
I've got one more thing, but do you have anything?
No, I was thinking a little bit earlier when I heard you were going to be on the show. Of course, it's no secret, I'm a huge Jeff Mauldin fan. I remember, I guess 14 years ago now, I got a call. I don't mind saying it because I got a call from Bill Roberts. He said, "You're not going to believe this, but we got Jeff Mauldin coming to get Trussville." And I'm like, "There's no way." And I just thought that was a big day for Trussville. And you've certainly lived up to those expectations. Not just the winning coach, but the way you do it and the way you've molded players and the way you've done it. It's been outstanding for our school. It's been outstanding for our community. And I always love going to the playoffs and represent Trussville, because I just know Trussville is always going to be. They're going to do it right. And so thank you for all you've done.
Well, thank you. And Jeff Schrupp, he came with me from Pelham. He's been here the whole time too, and I think it's a unique situation. You can argue whether or not he's a better baseball coach or a better AP teacher, because he excels in both. And I think the biggest thing, Alan, is, I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot, because I love you. You know that. And I think that young coaches ask me, how do we keep consistently doing it year in and year out? Not winning a state championship every year, that would be nice, but just being in the mix. And if they say who's going to state championship this year, Hewitt Trussville is going to be mentioned as one of the teams that can do it. I think the biggest thing is stability in our coaches. Our coaches come here, they don't leave. If they leave, they're leaving for a head coaching job. I got a lot of coaches that wanted to be head coaches when they first got here. Now they don't, because they love Hewitt. They love our school system. Their kids are now in it. So we have a lot of stability in our staff. So from middle school all the way to varsity, the kids are hearing the same message. And I think that our past helps. Even before we got here, we recognize Mike Mordecai. We recognize Jason Standridge. Guys like that. Eric Wood, who pitched here and pitched at Auburn, and Mark Gray, who pitched here and pitched at UAB, and Keith Depew. So we recognize the past, but we really, really, I guess, put on a pedestal our players of the past, and especially the current guys that are in college or professional. We have name tags for them in our locker room, and they have their own locker. Our current players see that every day. When they walk in our hitting facility, they see banners kind of hanging around our facility of our former players, that are currently playing or done playing. They're adults now, but they, stuff they did. I just think that there's a standard from the past before we got here, and obviously I think that there's a huge standard from the day we got here to now that I think our players want to uphold, and they want to be a part of that. They want their team picture on a wall in our facility. They want their individual picture on a wall in our facility. It's something they see it every day, and I think they want to be a part of it. But I think, I was thinking today, it was 90-something degrees, and we're running 110s. We're pushing sleds on a football field, and I was thinking, how easy would it be for any of these kids to say, "I'm done. This is crazy," but they all do it. Now, I was thinking while they're doing, I'm sweating just standing there. And why do they do it? They love a challenge. They love the winning and losing. No one's winning and losing right now in September, but I think they love the challenge of what what comes every day. And you hope what they go through in our program helps them succeed in life. You know, they go to college and they're not playing anymore, but they go to college and they got a tough class or have a tough time on a test. How do they respond to that? You know, and then in a job, you know, that's the ultimate goal is, can we teach them life lessons through the game of baseball and going through our program, which is hard. But you know what? Life is hard. Getting a job is hard. Being a husband's hard at times. Being a dad, and you know, and hopefully we can help them in life. And that's. I mean, no one's going to play forever, you know. But can they be an unbelievable dad, an unbelievable father, unbelievable husband? You know, have a job, take care of their family, and people look up to them in their community that they decide to live in, and hopefully they live in Trustful, and where everybody's going to know them. But you know, it's, to me, that's the goal, is seeing kids or young men succeed in life. Like Ben Stiles was a player for us at Clay Chalkville, then he coached with us at Trustful. Now he's a very successful realtor in our city, and you know, I see him, and it makes me proud to see a guy like that. He's having success as a dad and as a husband, and in his job. I mean, that's, to me, that's rewarding. You know, going to Kansas City and seeing Tyler Tolbert, probably the I don't know, the best thing I've ever done as a coach is sit in the stands and watch him play and get his first major league hit. And I'm crying like a baby. My wife is crying like a baby. Tyler's girlfriend's crying. And I, you know, I thought, because that was the first day we were in Kansas City. And then the next day we go back. I'm like, okay, I'm going to handle this a lot better. And he didn't even play. And I'm just watching him stand out for the national anthem. I'm watching him in the dugout. I'm still tearing up. And I go back a month or two later. We took our whole staff over Labor Day weekend, the series they play the Tigers. And okay, I've been here. This is not my first time. Didn't matter. I'm still crying. So, you know, just, you know, seeing your kids succeed in life. You know, obviously Tolbert chasing his dream, but again, he's 27 years old, and hopefully he plays for 5, 6, 7 more years. But he's not going to play until he's 35, 40, maybe, but odds are not. So what is he going to do from 40 to 80, 40 to 90? You know, you hope being a part of our program helps him in that phase of his life. So.
Wow.
Well said.
It's
I hate to have to wrap it with this, but we're rapidly approaching October. So Dodgers versus who?
The Dodgers are not going to win. Their bullpen is horrible. I don't know how many no hitters or starters have thrown in the last week that the bullpen lost. Now that Kershaw's retiring, maybe somebody will take care of him and win it on his last year. But I think you're going to see the Brewers, Tigers. I think we're going to see an odd World Series. Teams don't usually make it.
Yeah, for whatever reason, like I'm not there yet with Milwaukee. I don't know why. It's probably just because it's Milwaukee. But
Yep.
like right now, I kind of lean just based on, yes, how they're playing. Obviously, you got to stay healthy, but some of these two teams' experience, like I kind of lean Philadelphia, Toronto.
I'm with you on the Phillies. Toronto, I know they're in first place. I would still take the Yankees over the Blue Jays in a series. But the Tigers, Scooble's going to win. That's a win.
He's fantastic.
We got to see him the Sunday we were in Kansas City. He pitched. If we got to see him pitch, it is unbelievable how good he is.
I would like to see him if it ended up against the Phillies. I would like to see him dominate and bring a title to Detroit.
If Dodgers don't win, I definitely want an American League team to win.
Absolute facts. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you dealing with our technical difficulties, Coach, and joining.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me. Good seeing you guys.
See
You too. Appreciate you.
Thank you for everything.
Yep. Y'all take care.
All right, you too. All right. Well, that's it. again, sorry for the technical difficulties. We will get those worked out. But Alan, I appreciate you joining. I'm going to read this again real quick. Thank you to 360 Lending. Appreciate Lisa McClellan of 360 Lending sponsoring the podcast. She's been in Trustful more than 20 years and opened 360 Lending in 2022. And also the Mark Turner Law Firm. He is your local criminal defense attorney. Visit markturnerlawfirm.com or call 205-568-7003. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. And Alan, thank you for
thank you for having me. I hope if I remembered about anything in Trustful down through the years is that people realize I really do love this place. It's great. Thank you for all that you do for our historical portions of our city, but all that you do for our city. It's a great place to live. And man, what a treat to be on with Coach Mauldin. I mean, maybe the best baseball coach in our state, maybe in the Southeast, maybe in the country. I
almost asked him. I decided not to for sake of time. I'll ask him some other time. But I was going to ask him, what's kept you in Trustful?
Yeah.
Because he's probably had opportunities
every year. I'm sure he has. And, but he loves Trustful too. I've heard him say it. And it's a great place.
Absolutely. Well, thank y'all for tuning in, and we're going to end this thing here, and we'll see you again next week for another one of these. Appreciate you guys.